something dazzling in the sky last night, and we're not talking about New Year's Eve fireworks.
Well, people from all over Northern California contacted us to report a bizarre flying object or objects. Most of the sightings happened just after midnight.
News 10's George Warren spent the day trying to identify the unidentified flying objects.
Well, we saw it right through the trees. It was bright enough to shine directly through the trees without any problem seeing it.
Stephen Brown watched it over Sacramento. Hans Mout spotted it over Auburn.
Kind of approached from over that direction and came across kind of slow.
Did they see the same thing that Kay Pinlack saw in Stockton?
Pretty much right above this palm tree here.
Multiple objects, he says, captured on his iPhone.
Guys, I seen like 6 bright orange color lights, and they're like almost in a diamond or triangle shape. It was weird, and then so they started just separating.
You see that other one up there on the right, though?
And not just Northern California. Somebody posted this video from the Hollywood Hills on YouTube. Multiple glowing objects out there among the New Year's Eve fireworks.
And now it's 3 more.
There's 2 of them.
No.
There's 3 all together, right?
4. No, it's 4 now.
In Auburn, Hans and his wife Terry saw it a few hours earlier than the other sightings.
But there was no sound. That's the funny thing.
Or the lights, the usual lights.
No sound, no blinking lights, just this big illuminated form.
And whatever it was moved up and to the left. It hovered there for probably about 60 seconds, and then it took off at a high rate of speed, out of sight, directly away from us, and just disappeared.
Of course, we're always looking for rational explanations for UFO sightings. This 2008 sighting over the Sacramento Valley turned out to be an airplane with an electronic sign under the wings. A year later, a mysterious flashing light near Placerville turned out to be arcing power lines.
There's a light.
We're still waiting to find out if there's a rational explanation for what people saw last night all across California.
Now, an FAA spokesman tells me that there was no unusual aircraft activity reported to the FAA last night. If this was some sort of hoax, it would have to be a pretty elaborate one because it was seen by so many people all over California.
Well, yeah, up and down the state, which is interesting, and within hours of each other.
Yeah, so the earliest sighting we heard about was about 8 p.m. up in Auburn. Terry and Hans, they said it was just a single object they saw, moving unnaturally, too fast for a balloon, too slow for an airplane. In Sacramento as well, Stephen said that it was a single object hovering and then streaking away. And then, of course, down in Stockton, the multiple objects, as in Hollywood.
That's the interesting part, that it was hovering and then it started cruising. Yeah. That suggests, it's not a balloon or
there's some intelligent control of this thing.
Nothing showed up on radar that the FAA is willing
Not that they're telling us. We also talked.
We
checked with Travis Air Force Base in Beale, and they said, of course, nothing unusual happening.
All right. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting if someone can step forward and offer an explanation.
Question for the ages: are we alone in the universe? Believe it or not, we've actually been asked a lot to find out the answer.
And a man who shared his experience with us 3 years ago is now sharing it with the nation. Will Whitson is live in Myrtle Beach to share our own experiences with the supernatural. Will.
Well, we get a lot of calls to investigate stories, guys, and sometimes those stories, well, they happen up there. It's almost a cultural phenomenon for odd happenings to be in South Carolina and North Carolina, and when people experience it, they call us to share.
We're taking phone calls, we're answering emails, looking at Facebook. Any type of concern the community has, we like to answer them as well.
Sometimes those concerns deal with something literally out of this world.
All the tourists are in town, they got their cameras, they're seeing these lights out over the ocean, and it just sort of, can grow to be something pretty big.
I've seen some of the orange lights that people call in and claim that they have video up.
No, not that kind. Something more like this. Local business owner and pilot Gary Travis shot video of it 3 years ago. Our interview with him went viral online, and now he's being featured on a National Science Channel program.
I'm not going to be a guy that tells you I think they're alien spacecraft, and I don't have any kind of proof of that. It'd be fun to think something like that might happen.
About 5 to 10 feet above the 2-story building or home was 2 bright lights that showed up.
Check this out. The National UFO Reporting Center keeps a database of reports in every state. There are almost 1,200 reports in South Carolina, many from right here in the Grand Strand.
All of a sudden, the emails we get, the phone calls, the Facebook messages, they all really increase.
Even members of our own WNBF News family have had an encounter.
And we all kind of got up, followed her out to the street, and saw this bright orange light.
UFOs aren't the only weird happenings in the Grand Strand. Some phenomenon have been here for generations.
The big one we hear about all the time is the Seneca booms.
My
theory was maybe somebody's propane tank exploded.
If you search hard enough, you may find a logical explanation.
Probably the most common thing that we see around here is what's called chaff, which is basically little bits of metal particles that military aircraft drop.
But after an encounter, you may want to believe there's something bigger out there.
The universe is remarkable and it's infinite. Maybe we'll see a little sighting here over Myrtle Beach, over the Atlantic, and we'll be able to be live local late breaking on the scene then too.
When I asked Travis about his experience on the Science Channel TV show, he said he was happy to share that experience. He says he thinks there are more people out there that have had these encounters with supernatural phenomenon, and he thinks they should speak up. Live in Myrtle Beach, Will Whitson, WMBF News.
He even posted pictures on our Facebook page about this.
Being New Year's Eve, we had to wonder how credible they were at the moment. But it turns out Central Oregon isn't alone in this. People also spotted these bright flashing lights in California and in Medford. Kendra Kent's here now with the story. Kendra.
Alicia and Matt, the couple I spoke with today swear it wasn't a floating lantern or some kind of firework display zipping around outside their Bend home. Now, I also spoke with an aviation instructor at COCC today. He says there's probably a practical explanation. Still, the sighting left many amazed. Millions greeted the new year with the usual. Others say they saw something very unusual.
It would stop and hover and be all shimmery like a forest fire color.
Something they'd never seen before.
That's really weird. Yeah, because you can see all different kinds of lights on it.
This is video Pam Stewart of Bend shot outside her home on New Year's Eve. She describes a floating, flashing light she saw off in the distance. A flying object she says couldn't be a lantern.
And it was moving horizontal, and then just off.
Hundreds of miles away in California, others say they also saw something odd in the night sky.
Almost in a diamond or triangle shape. It was weird.
This big illuminated form.
And whatever it was moved up and to the left. It hovered there for probably about 60 seconds.
And back here in Oregon, Eric Whitford took this photo from his Medford home and shared it with us on Facebook. No, this is not fireworks, he writes. This object came in from the left of us and then just stopped. Another appeared and both disappeared. This was really amazing to watch. Could it be a UFO, a drone, a trick of the light? Even aerial experts say that's up in the air.
It's very hard to determine what it could or couldn't be. Probably eliminate meteorites. The concept of a formation of some sort of, flying vehicles, again, airplanes, helicopters, hot air balloons, any of those are possible.
A practical explanation, but what it actually was up in the sky will likely remain a mystery. And many of us can't help but to think of the extraordinary.
Unidentified flying object. You don't know what it is. I would think that there's other life out there, not just us alone.
Not quite as bright as the fireworks, but just as spectacular. And although several people across California reported these sightings, federal authorities said today there has been no unusual flight activity in the area.
It makes sense to see the sky light up on New Year's Eve, but an Ashburn man says he didn't see fireworks.
That's right. When he realized it was not a plane, he started capturing it on his cell phone. Hatzel Vella shows us now the video this man captured and explains how the strange sightings were not just spotted here.
Just found myself staring at the sky.
New Year's Eve. Like today, skies were clear.
At this point, I'm just kind of wondering what I'm looking at.
Chris Smith doesn't live far from Dulles. He's used to seeing airplanes fly above.
You couldn't help but see it in the sky. It was that bright.
Smith grabs his cell phone and starts recording. And this is what he captures.
Upper right-hand corner, blinks in, blinks off, and then boom, it's on.
Two lights sitting in the sky, barely moving. So intrigued, he calls his kids.
Marcus, Summer, come here right now.
Look at these lights, man.
Awesome. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing.
10-year-old Marcus thought it could be a new type of rocket or flares.
It was cool and kind of scary.
His sister Summer had a different theory.
Why would it go out if it was a plane? Go out of the atmosphere.
Once the 2 came on, there was 3, and then there was 4, and there was 5. They really moved like nothing else you see in the sky. We're just kind of standing there and all trying to figure out, what's going on.
The father was in complete disbelief.
You're just trained not to really believe in it. To watch lights move and drop and stop, come in with just a smooth silence grace. It was strange.
Looks like Smith may not be alone with his experience. The ABC station in Sacramento reported folks in that area saw something similar.
I seen like 6 bright orange color lights.
The lights even spotted down in the Los Angeles area. Back here in Ashburn, Smith says he's been out the last 2 nights hoping he'll see something.
Never thought I'd see anything like this.
But so far, no sighting.
You see it slow down?
In Ashburn.
Darren Goffin likes to stargaze, but for the past few months he says he's seen more than just stars.
The first sighting, it was a lot of movement and just sparkles around it.
Goffin decided to record the unidentified flying object. You can see from his video there are 2 bright objects. One is flashing and then it just stops. The other continues to move.
Nah, I haven't really told too many people.
Is there a reason?
Thinking I'm crazy, you know, everybody got their own beliefs, and if you say, oh, I seen a UFO, they'll laugh at you, make fun of you, thinking that you're hallucinating or something.
According to the National UFO Reporting Center, 23 sites have been reported on the First Coast in the last 6 months. 12 of those sightings were in Jacksonville. John Anderson is the senior research lecturer of the Department of Physics at UNF and says it could be many things.
It could be aircraft, it could be shooting stars, meteors, it could be reflections of searchlights off of clouds in the distance that could appear to move very fast, could be satellites flying over. Things like the International Space Station, when it passes over, they're very bright.
Sightings of unusual objects in the sky are being recorded all over the world, but unlike what many describe as extraterrestrial activity, Anderson says scientifically it's unlikely.
The nearest planet that is currently judged to be a habitable planet, meaning that it has conditions conducive for liquid water, is about 22 light years away.
The Mutual UFO Network says every year about 70,000 reports come in, but 9 out of 10 are explainable sightings. But they also say only 1 in 10 are reported. Goffin says he'll keep watching the sky.
I've always been interested in space, and I've always known that there has to be other life out there, because I don't think we're the only ones. They said that there's millions of galaxies out there. Why is it that just ours have life?
Michelle Casada, First Coast News, NBC 12, ABC 25.